What kind of father trades his own daughter to pay a debt? That question hung in the air like a knife waiting to fall on Norah's life, though she didn't know it yet. 4 days before the moment that would change everything, Norah woke to the rooster's crow and the thin morning light slipping through the cracks of the cabin walls. She rose quietly so she would not wake Harlan, who lay on his back snoring, mouth open, the bitter smell of old whiskey rising from him like a heavy fog. For 11 years she had lived like this, knowing each sound he made, each habit, each silence. She tied her auburn hair into a tight braid, washed her face with cold water, and set the fire. Her hands, rough from years of work, moved with the calm rhythm of someone who had never known a different life. As she shaped the cornbread dough, she heard the settlement waking. A horse neighing in the distance, boots on the dirt, dogs barking at nothing. Their small frontier outpost wasn't on any map. It was nothing more than a handful of cabins, a saloon, a trading post, and a garrison that cared more about smuggling control than people's safety. Norah had grown up here. Her father, a blacksmith, had died when she was 13. Her mother died the following winter. With no one left, she ended up under Harlan's roof, a man much older, with a weak back and a stronger thirst. He never hit her or shouted at her, but he never showed kindness either. He treated her like something useful, not someone living. She cooked and washed while he drank and gambled. When he woke that morning, he sat at the edge of the cot, rubbing his eyes. "Is it ready?" he asked. "Yes," she said softly. They ate in silence like always. When he finished, he wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "I'm going to the post," he said. She knew what that meant. Cards, whiskey, and trouble. After he left, she began her daily chores. She washed clothes in the wooden tub, hauled water from the well, hung everything under the sun to dry. Mrs. Amelia, an old woman with curved shoulders, stopped her on the road. "Be careful, child," she warned. "Mountain men are near." "They pass through often," Norah said. "Not like this. People say they're here to trade." Trouble follows trade. Norah tried to smile, but her mind was already tired. The day dragged on, hot and dry. When darkness came, she sat in the doorway, waiting for Harlan. He did not return that night, or the next. She waited, feeling that crawling sense of dread she had learned to ignore for years. On the third morning, pounding on the door startled her awake. She opened it to find 2 garrison men holding rifles, and behind them, Harlan. He looked thin, sweaty, and ashamed. "Your father has a debt," the taller soldier said. $180. Norah felt her chest tighten. "We don't have that," she said. "We know," the soldier replied. "That's why we're here." Harlan would not meet her eyes. His shoulders sagged as if the weight of his choices pressed down on him. "Get dressed," the soldier ordered. "You're coming with us." Norah froze. "Me? Why me?" "Because your father offered you to pay what he owes." Quote. The words shattered something inside her. She looked at Harlan with disbelief, hoping he would deny it, protect her, say anything. But he stepped back, head lowered. "They'll kill me if I don't pay," he mumbled. "I have no choice." "You had a choice," Norah whispered. "You chose this." The soldiers grabbed her while she begged him to look at her. He didn't. They dragged her into the dawn, her bare feet fighting against dust and stone. People watched from their doorways, but no one stopped the soldiers. Nobody ever fought for her. At the trading post square, men gathered around a table covered in cards, coins, and liquor. The captain studied Norah with cold amusement. "So this is the payment," he said. She tried to pull away, but rough hands held her in place. Harlan sat in a corner, staring at the ground. Not a father, not a protector. Only a man who feared shame more than he loved his daughter. Before the captain could touch her, the world stopped. "She has no price." The deep voice came from the edge of the square. Everyone turned. A tall mountain man stood under the dead tree, his face set like carved stone, shadow mixing with the long, dark hair over his shoulders. A knife and pistol hung at his belt. His eyes burned like fire. The captain scowled. "And who are you?" "Someone who knows a woman isn't a debt," the stranger said. "This isn't your business." "It became my business the moment you broke honor." Tension spread across the square like lightning. The crowd froze. "If you want her," the captain growled, "go through us." "If I must." In the next heartbeat, chaos exploded. Gunfire, shouts, dust rising under boots, horses rearing. The mountain man moved with impossible speed, disarming a soldier and firing into the air. The crowd scattered. A hand grabbed Norah. "Run!" the stranger ordered. And she did. She ran beside the mountain man into the wilderness, leaving behind the life she had known, leaving behind the man who had betrayed her, running toward the unknown with a stranger who had said the words no one had ever said for her. A woman has worth. She has no price. Who was this mountain man who risked his life for a woman he didn't even know? That question followed Norah as she ran beside him through the wilderness, her breath burning, her heart beating with fear and something she didn't yet understand. They didn't stop running until the sun dipped low, turning the sky red like a warning. Norah stumbled and fell to her knees, her palms scraping against the hot, dry earth. She tried to breathe, but her chest refused to lift air. She had never run this far in her life. The mountain man stopped a few steps ahead and turned. He didn't scold her or push her to stand. He simply watched with calm, steady eyes. When she finally looked up, he extended his hand. She didn't take it. "Who are you?" she asked through trembling breaths. "Why did you do this?" Quote, he lowered his hand and crouched down, keeping just enough distance so she wouldn't feel trapped. "My name is Ezra," he said. "And I didn't do it for a reward or for thanks. I did it because what they planned for you was wrong." Norah wiped tears from her dusty cheeks. "You don't know me," she whispered. "I don't need to know you deserve dignity," he replied. His voice was calm, but there was something buried in it, a pain deeper than his scars. After a few minutes, Ezra helped her stand, and they walked again, slower this time. When night fell, they reached a hidden cave. Ezra gathered wood and lit a small fire, careful not to let the flames grow too high. Norah sat on the ground, hugging her knees. The fire warmed her skin, but not the cold inside her. Ezra handed her a canteen. "Drink, just a little. We need to save the rest." She drank 2 slow sips. It felt like life returning to her. "Why did you risk everything?" she asked again, softer this time. Ezra looked at the flames, the reflection dancing in his dark eyes. "Because once," he said, "I lost my family to soldiers, and nobody helped them. I won't stand by again when someone is in danger." Norah felt something inside her crack open, not fear, understanding. They slept in shifts. Ezra awake most of the night, guarding the entrance. Norah slept for the first time without nightmares. In the morning, they walked toward a dry creek bed. Ezra dug in the sand until water seeped up. He filled the canteen and handed it to her first. "You need to learn this," he said. "Teach me," she answered. Over the next days, he did. He taught her how to follow tracks, how to move quietly, how to find shade when the sun was unforgiving. He showed her which plants she could eat and which would make her sick. Each lesson made Norah feel a little stronger, a little more alive. One afternoon under a twisted pine, he handed her a small, bone-handled knife. "It's yours," he said. "I don't know how to use it." "You will." Hours passed as he taught her the basics, how to hold it, how to cut wood, how to keep it sharp. She cut her fingers twice, but each time she simply pressed her lips together and kept going. At night by the fire, Ezra spoke about the mountains, about a life she had never imagined. He told her how he had survived after losing everything. Norah listened, not just with ears, but with the part of her soul that had been asleep for years. One night, the stars glowing above them, she gathered the courage to ask, "How did they die?" Ezra's face softened with old grief. After a long silence, he said, "Soldiers attacked my cabin while I was gone. My wife and my son were inside." His voice was steady, but every word felt heavy. "I came back too late." Norah felt her heart ache. "I'm sorry." "So am I," Ezra murmured. but their laws taught me something. Pain can turn you into a monster or into someone who refuses to let others suffer. I chose the second. Days passed. Norah's arms grew stronger. Her steps became surer. She learned how to read the land like a map. She learned to fight, Ezra teaching her how to dodge, how to strike, how to stay calm. You don't need strength, he told her. You need intelligence and speed. She trained until she could barely breathe, falling into the sand again and again, but each time she rose quicker, and Ezra noticed. One evening, after she managed to land a clean strike on him during practice, he gave her a proud nod. "You're no longer the woman I rescued," he said. Norah felt heat rising in her chest. Pride. Something she had never felt before. That night their silence was comfortable. She sat beside him by the fire. He didn't move away. She didn't either. "No one has ever treated me like I matter," she said quietly. "You do matter," Ezra answered. "You always did." Her breath hitched as his eyes held hers. Something unspoken passed between them. Something soft, something real. But the peace didn't last forever. Ezra returned from a scouting round at sunset with tense eyes. "They're close," he said. "Your father, the soldiers, they tracked us." A cold wave ran through Norah. "How far?" "By noon tomorrow," he said. "They'll be here." For a moment, the old fear tried to return. But Norah wasn't the same fragile woman who had been dragged through the settlement. She lifted her chin. "Then we prepare." Ezra studied her. "We can flee into the mountains. They'll never find you." Quote, "No," she said firmly. "Running is all I ever did. I want to face them. I want Harlan to see who I became." Ezra looked at her with something like awe. "All right," he said. "Then we fight." For the next 4 days, they set traps, chose high ground, practiced signals. Ezra taught her where to aim if she needed to shoot. He showed her how to place stones to trip a horse, how to hide behind rocks without showing the shape of her body. They worked side by side, their movements in rhythm, their trust growing without words. On the 5th day, Ezra returned from the ridge with dust on his boots. "They're coming," he said. 8 riders. Norah felt her heartbeat steady. "Let them come," she whispered. "I am not his property anymore." As the sun rose the next morning, they took their positions among the rocks. Ezra's rifle rested on the high ridge. Norah crouched below, knife at her side, pistol in her hand. She breathed deeply, calm and focused. For the first time in her life, she was the one in control. The dust cloud grew on the horizon as the riders approached. Harlan rode in front. Soldiers behind him, guns ready. Ezra whistled once. "Wait," Norah nodded. The trap was set. What came next would decide everything: her past, her future, her freedom. The dust cloud rose higher as the riders entered the narrow pass, their boots heavy on the ground, their rifles ready. Norah crouched low behind the rocks, with her pistol gripped tight, waiting for Ezra's signal. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from a fire that had grown stronger every day since she escaped. She saw Harlan first. He looked thinner than before, his eyes wild with shame and desperation. Behind him rode the captain and 6 soldiers with hard faces, each searching for signs of the trap they expected but could not see. Ezra waited above, hidden among the tall stones. He watched them with the eyes of a hunter, studying every angle. When the first horse stepped onto the loose stones he had set, Ezra gave 2 long whistles. "Attack?" The trap snapped. The horse reared wildly, throwing the rider off. The man crashed against a boulder and didn't move again. Shouts filled the pass, and chaos broke like a storm. Ezra fired the first shot, striking a soldier in the shoulder. Horses cried out. Soldiers tried to aim, but the high rocks gave Ezra cover, and he moved quickly from one spot to another. Norah breathed deep, just as Ezra had taught her. Then she rose slightly from behind the rock, aimed at a soldier moving toward Ezra's position, and fired. The man screamed and dropped to one knee, clutching his leg. Norah felt her hand tremble, not from weakness, but from the shock of knowing she had done it. She had fought back. For the first time in her life, she had fought. The captain snarled and pointed at her. "There she is! Take her alive!" 2 soldiers rushed toward her. Norah fired again, but the shot went high. The men were too close now. One grabbed her arm with rough force. The other tore the pistol from her grip. "You're coming with!" Norah didn't let him finish. She remembered Ezra's words. "Don't fight with strength. Fight with intelligence." She slipped her free hand to the knife at her belt, and with every ounce of courage she had gained, she drove the blade into the soldier's ribs. He stumbled back, eyes wide with shock, and fell to the ground. The second soldier raised his rifle at her, the muzzle only a few feet from her chest. Before he could shoot, Ezra's rifle cracked from above. The bullet struck the soldier square in the chest, sending him tumbling backward. The captain cursed and ducked behind his fallen horse. "Harlan, get your daughter," he shouted. Norah moved through the rocks, breathing hard, knife still in her hand. She circled toward the sound of her father's voice. She found him crouched behind a stone outcrop, his face as white as the dust around him. "Norah," he stammered, "daughter, listen to me." Norah raised the pistol she had picked back up from the ground. "I am not yours," she said. "Not anymore." "You owe me," Harlan cried, scrambling backward. "I raised you, fed you." "You used me," she said. "You sold me. You didn't treat me like a daughter. You treated me like property." Quote, he shook his head wildly. "I was drunk. I made a mistake." "No," Norah said. "You made a choice." Harlan grabbed his rifle and aimed it at her, hands shaking. Norah didn't hesitate. She fired once. The blast echoed through the pass. Harlan collapsed against the stone, his rifle slipping from his hands. He took one final breath and fell still. Norah lowered the pistol slowly. She didn't feel relief or victory. She felt a weight lifting, a weight she had carried since childhood. Ezra climbed down from the ridge, stepping over fallen rocks. He held his rifle loosely, but his eyes were on Norah. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "No, I'm not." The captain saw Harlan fall and realized the fight was lost. He mounted the last remaining horse and fled out of the pass, leaving his men behind. Ezra watched him disappear. "He won't come back," he said. "He won't need to," Norah replied. "I'm not going back to that settlement." Ezra stepped closer. "Then where do you want to go?" Quote. Norah looked toward the high mountains, rising blue and endless in the distance. A place where the wind carried no orders, where no man could claim her, where she could choose her own steps. "I want to go with you," she said. "I want to learn more, live free, live strong. I want to decide my life for the first time." Ezra studied her face, seeing not the frightened woman he had rescued, but a woman who had rebuilt herself with her own hands. "Then come," he said. "My world is hard, but it's honest, and you'll never belong to anyone again." Norah took his hand, rough, warm, steady. It felt like a promise she had never dared to imagine. They gathered what they needed from the fallen soldiers: water, ammunition, a better rifle. Then they mounted the 2 surviving horses and rode west as the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky gold and red. As they rode side by side, Ezra looked at her. "What are you thinking about?" Norah smiled softly, her hair riding on the wind. "I'm thinking the world is wide," she said, "and I'm finally free to choose where I go." Ezra nodded with quiet pride, and together they rode into a future of their own making, one built not on fear or pain, but on freedom, strength, and the first sparks of something deeper between them. The wilderness welcomed them, wild and endless. And Norah, once treated as debt, became a woman with worth, a woman with courage, a woman with no price.